In the likes of WWE and AEW, we have seen so many wrestlers come and go, and some only come for a cup of coffee. Recently, we had Eric Young, who was quietly rehired by the WWE in November of 2022 and was planned to be a part of the Wyatt 6 stable. However, due to Bray Wyatt being taken off TV, these plans were delayed, and in April 2023, Eric Young was then quietly released by the WWE. He was released from his own request as he did not want to work with Vince McMahon, who had returned to power within the company before Eric Young had even made his return to TV. Vince beat him to it. And yeah, today we got another 3 examples of people who only lasted a short period of time in their respective company, including someone who only lasted less than a day. We also have a giveaway at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that, and we're starting off this list with none other than Haid Vanson. Haid Vanson is a British wrestler who started out in Britain in 2001, and he'd begin the grind of wrestling across the British and European independent scenes across the 2000s. He mainly wrestled in the UK, but he would every now and then make an excursion to Europe where he would wrestle for WXW. And after grinding out the independent scenes across the 2000s for years in countries like England, Germany and Italy, he would make his first appearances in the US in 2006 for IWA Puerto Rico, where he would wrestle in a tag team called the British Militer, along with John Moxley. Okay, interesting pick. Haid Vanson would become a mainstay in IWA Puerto Rico, and his grinding on the indie scene would clearly get the attention of the WWE, who signed him to a developmental deal in 2007, and he reported to Florida Championship Wrestling. He would wrestle in FCW for about a year until WWE, who seemingly saw something in him, called him up to SmackDown, and he would appear in a vignette cutting a really cryptic promo. However, this would be his only ever SmackDown appearance, in fact his last ever main roster WWE appearance, and a couple of weeks later he was gone from the company. He was released. And well, according to Haid himself, Haid Vanson was apparently being originally set up for a feud with The Undertaker on SmackDown. According to Haid, he was told this and he was brought into SmackDown to do that vignette to begin airing and promoting the feud. However, shortly after this, he was told the storyline was put on hold, and shortly after that, he was then released from the company with no reason told. And well, the story and the report that's always gone around that Haid himself has heard is that Vince McMahon saw him backstage and thought he was too small to face The Undertaker, Haid Vanson being 5'11". And Haid Vanson is now no longer involved in professional wrestling, stepping away from wrestling following his WWE release. And what a feud with The Undertaker would have looked like, who knows? Scott Hall is a guy who you'd think, given his history, in the great year of 2014, you probably wouldn't be looking to sign him to a professional wrestling company. However, in just that decade alone, in 2010, he had already been signed to a major company somewhere. TNA of course snapped him up and formed a band with himself, Kevin Nash, Six-Pack and Eric Young. And as we saw from that 2010 run, he very clearly shouldn't have been signed. However, despite that, and despite Scott Hall's entire history, GFW thought they would go to sign him anyway, as on May 13, 2015, Global Force Wrestling announced Hall would be part of their roster. However, just 5 days later, on May 18, 2015, Scott Hall was then released from GFW and removed from their roster page, with once again, no reason cited as to why. But while no reason was given, fans all knew the reason why, as on that same day, an incident had occurred with Scott Hall on an independent show where he turned up clearly very intoxicated. He went out there and cut a promo to some wrestler where once again it was very clear that he was intoxicated and he had just given it away to everyone by getting on the microphone. He rambled and didn't really say anything, then he walked off and was escorted out by security. And once again, while GFW never gave an official reason why Scott Hall was released, it was reported by the Wrestling Observer that this was indeed the reason, and judging by the fact that these incidents were on the same day, it's probably no coincidence. In 2016, Brian Kendrick returned to the WWE when he competed in their Cruiserweight Classic. Before this, he had already had 2 stints with the WWE, as well as runs in Ring of Honor and TNA. Though he didn't win the tournament, he would win the Cruiserweight title that same year, and it seemed as though Brian Kendrick had caught a third wind in the WWE. However, this Cruiserweight title run was short-lived and didn't last long, and from here, he just became another lower card Cruiserweight guy. He would do this for a few years, but by 2020, his wrestling career had slowed down, and he had become a backstage producer and trainer in the WWE. It seemed as though his wrestling career was pretty much done. Until in 2022, when Brian Kendrick started getting involved in NXT and got into a feud with Haaland. No, not Erling, I'm talking about Parker Boudreaux. Brian Kendrick's in-ring return was announced, and he was set to be facing Haaland on January 25th, 2022. However, the match never took place, as it was reported that Brian Kendrick had asked for his release from the company, and 6 days later, the release was granted on February 1st, and now nobody knew what Kendrick was going to do next. Until a few hours later, when on the very same day he was released, he was announced to be facing Jon Moxley on AEW Dynamite on February 2nd, the very next day. It was a crazy turn of events, and everything happened very fast, and what would happen next would happen even faster. On February 2nd, the date he was set to appear on AEW Dynamite, old statements from Brian Kendrick resurfaced, video and text interviews where he states his beliefs in numerous conspiracy theories began to spread over social media, with him stating his belief in the Holocaust death numbers being faked and exaggerated, the Sandy Hook shooting being faked, 9/11 being faked, and the killing of Osama bin Laden never happening. As a result of this, his AEW Dynamite appearance was cancelled, with Tony Khan stating on Twitter, "We've been made aware of abhorrent and offensive comments made in the past by Brian Kendrick. There's no room in AEW for the views expressed by Brian. We think it's best for all that Brian be pulled from tonight's card as we gather more info. We'll announce a replacement bout ASAP." Brian Kendrick would later post his own statement on Twitter saying the following: "I spread the most vile comments without thinking of the damage it would cause. I will live with this regret for the rest of my life. I am truly sorry for the pain I have caused." As well as, "I apologize for all the hurt and embarrassment I have caused with my words. These are not beliefs and were never beliefs of mine, and I crossed the line." All of this happened in the space of 24 hours. Brian Kendrick has not been involved in wrestling since, other than this past Survivor Series where he produced Ronda Rousey vs Shotzi, as he was specifically requested by Ronda. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and making it this far. Like I said at the start of this video, I'm doing a cheeky little giveaway at the end here, so if you would like your hand at a code for WrestleQuest, the brand new wrestling RPG game that Top 10 Wrestling is in, then go to the link down below, follow my Twitter, and check out the Wrestle Club channel, and you'll get 2 entries into the giveaway. The game comes out in 2 weeks on August 22nd. It was actually meant to come out today, but it has been delayed by a further 2 weeks, so stay put. The more time to enter the giveaway, that does mean. But yeah, link in the description.